meant something to her. So to be with her, again, what matters is her, not Instagram. I go right next to her and I kneel, just like this, right? To be with her for the picture. She's a little nervous, she's fine, she doesn't know what to do. She looks at me and she goes, all right, and she kneels, right? That's the exact same thing. It took me a few days to understand the magnitude of what just had happened. And the question I want to start with is, what do you think made her, was she compelled to kneel, to follow? And this is the answer I want to provide and start with. Leaders make the future brighter. Right then and there, her conditions was no longer an obstacle. Things that she thought were impossible became possible. And this encounter was 100% an exchange. She also helped me understand the gift of responsibility. Helped me understand that when we enable others to do more than they thought they were capable of, well, there's no limits to what we can achieve together. So this increased responsibility of the leader is a gift that I kept from that beautiful, beautiful encounter. Now, every big accomplishment always starts with a first step, and I'm going to ask you to take a first step and to join me as we start our ascent on Mount Everest. And what we're going to do now is start right from base camp. As a kid, when I was climbing in trees, that's what I was dreaming about. So you exit base camp, again, this is your dream. So it's incredibly inspiring and energizing. Things will get relatively complex pretty quickly. So we enter the Khumbu ice fall. You've got blocks of ice the size of this building. You enter that labyrinth of ice. There will be movement. Everybody has to be on their guards. And of course, the big challenge, crevasses. They're all over the place. And what's really tricky with those crevices that are the most dangerous are the ones you can't see. If you fall in a crevasse that's uncovered, that's natural selection. There's nothing I can do for you. But the ones you can't see are really tricky. The ones that are covered with snow. Some of these crevasses will have to use ladders to get across. What I want to do now is take you with me on what probably is going to be one of your first crevasses. So the way this is done, hands behind your back. We're going to lean forward, bring attention to the ropes. That's how we stay balanced. Now very slowly, we're going to let the ropes go. Let them slide on the gloves and take another step on this ladder. Congratulations. I think it was the first ladder for a few of us. I am thrilled that none of your lunches came back up. So if we're feeling that confident, we're going to stay here for a little bit. There is a question we ask ourselves all the time on Big Peaks. And you tell me if the question is relevant in a context of constant transformation. The question is very simple, 2 words. Right now, are we facing danger or are we facing discomfort? And the response becomes the most important thing. Now, if we are facing danger, we have to turn around. I do not care if you're the best climber in the world, the mountain decides if you get to see the view from the top. So there's a lot of humility that's required in reaching the summit. Now, sometimes we just have to wait for a better day. We have to wait for better weather. Now, sometimes it's equipment that we did not have or expertise that the new environment requires. So we're going to retreat and go require that. So we transform danger in discomfort. Now, when we are facing discomfort, it's time to be a little more resilient. And if we're feeling saturated from the R word, the resilience word, we've heard it a lot through the pandemics. I joke and I say, this is not so much resilience that we need, but openness. Openness to change, to innovation, to resist the temptation to say the new thing is not going to work, and we try and it doesn't work, and we go, I told you it wasn't going to work, and we persevere a little bit, and surprise, surprise, 30 days into the new thing, it actually worked, we can see benefits. So the big trap here, to me, is to, and this is hopefully going to be true both for our personal and professional lives, the big trap is to respond to discomfort as if it was danger. And it is when we do that, I believe, that we can miss out on a lot of very great opportunities. We refuse to open a door, and behind that door, there's 10 other doors we did not even know existed. My journey is very simple. I did not have a bucket list. It's everything that I've done, so the courage to, take the first step, explore, experiment. Sometimes it fails and we learn and we continue moving forward. I did not have a list. Everything led to the next thing. Now, nobody can be here and share the Mount Everest story without sharing a teamwork story. There is absolutely nothing I have done that was an individual accomplishment. Everything I've done, it was always a collective effort and collective success. Now, even before I introduced those wonderful souls whom I had the honor to climb Mount Everest with, nobody can be here, share the Mount Everest story without praising and acknowledging the work that the Sherpas do. And let me be crystal clear, without their help and support, us mortals, we could never reach the top. It is their mountain, they welcome us there, their stories never told enough. A lot of them became good friends, they're incredible human beings. I could talk about Sherpa culture for hours. I will say one thing. In their culture, self-worth, it doesn't come from your car or your clothes. It comes from a position of service. They're really happy, they get fulfilled when they help others to reach the summit, and that's exactly what you do. So one thing that's really important, if you want to build high level of performance, this summit is an outcome. It's not so much the goal, it's what is going to happen if we focus on the right actions and we show up in that position of service. Who here set a goal this year that included a dollar amount? Oh, yeah, I include myself. I include myself in that group. Now, that's the consequence. That's what is going to happen if we start by thinking about that position of service, helping others to fulfill their mission. We've acknowledged the work of the Sherpas. Now, the team of 5, as you can see. When I go to schools now, we're like a team of 4, and I tell the kids that I climbed Mount Everest in very ancient times, 2008, TV was black and white, and I tell the kids that back in '08, the person taking the picture could not be on the picture, and that blows their mind. They have no idea what prehistoric era I'm referring to. So the gentleman who took the picture, Rob lives with Crohn's disease. He's about to become the first Canadian, the first patient in history living with Crohn's to summit Everest. He's Canadian. I think that's pretty cool. On the right-hand side, first Canadian with type 1 diabetes to summit Mount Everest. Third in history. Why do I mention it? There's no instruction manual. There is no instruction manual. Everything is changing. Everything is changing quick and often. We went through the same scenario. So in training, knowing that, we said, we're going to prepare. We're going to prepare for every possible scenario. And we rehearsed and trained, and we said things like, if this happens, we're going to do that. And then if that happens, we're going to react that way. And none of those scenarios happened on the mountain, and it was not the goal. That was not the goal. So we understood that flexibility was going to be a strategy to succeed, to make our way up the mountain. It was not a response to failure. So we understood the plan is not a map. How would that be cool and easy if we had a plan and we just follow 10 steps and then we're successful? No, the plan is a toolbox. We understood that if we show up with a large toolbox, we're going to be able to dance and react to whatever the mountain will throw at us. I'll continue with the presentation. Next to me, Eric, who lost all his fingers in a climbing accident. Far left, Wayne, who was one of our best guys. Top Shay, very experienced. Yes, he was. Wayne was 71 in weight when we climbed. And in between Wayne and Eric, the orange coat, Daryl. Honestly, little boring. Fit, healthy, normal. Sort of like, all right, dude, we'll take you on the team. But you've got 2 months to figure out something that doesn't work with you, right? It's a 2 months climb. Absolutely no guarantees that you will reach the summit. I'll tell you one thing, and change starts with the first step. You take a step above base camp. You're 2 months away from very slim chances of reaching the summit. This is what I was dreaming about. I was climbing Mount Everest. So the metaphor that I prefer to borrow from my time on the hills, you've seen the videos, you've seen the pictures. Quite often we are tied to one another, literally, physically, with rope. So, when you're tied to your teammates, you understand very quickly that if you don't do everything in your power to make others successful, well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm tied to these guys. So, if I want to be excellent, I need to be surrounded by people that are also excellent, but I need to enable others to do great work as well. And we're also all co-responsible. Co-responsible is very powerful because that's me as someone in the team going beyond their role so that we can serve the mission first. We can fulfill the mission. From base camp to Camp 1, 10 to 12 hours of tough, demanding work. We eventually arrive at Camp 1. We can check that goal. 3 more to go. Camp 1 is an all-inclusive resort. Lots we can do at Camp 1. So we're going to sit there for a few days. We are not doing much. What we are doing actually is very important. We are allowing enough time so that our bodies get acclimatized to higher altitude. That is a process that needs to be respected. It's everything that I do now that dictates how well I will perform in a few days, in a few months, in a few years. So one thing you learn very quickly as an endurance athlete and a climber, because of course, I kind of feel like I could go to Camp 2. I want to go to Camp 2. I want to see the summit. One thing you learn very quickly, your job is to create favorable circumstances. The best gear, the best training, the best team, and then when we show up there or on race day, if it rains, if there's a storm, we'll assess that when we get there. But our job is to create favorable circumstances and early mistakes. Again, I want to go to Camp 2. Early mistakes are always exposed later. So we need to be respectful of that process. Once we've acclimatized to Camp 1, well, there you go. From Camp 1, we're going to go to Camp 2. Wrong answer. It's a bit of a trap. From Camp 1, we're going to pack everything up and descend all the way back down to base camp. So, well, I'm just sharing the story. So, to Summit Everest, and by the way, any mountain that's around 7,000 meters and taller, the only way, not the preferred way, the only way to get to the top is to go up and down, and up and down. And we do that multiple times. I'll explain why in a little bit. But for now, we're back at base camp. What are we doing? We're taking care of one another. We're making sure we're still aligned.
and that we're aiming for the same goal. On the mountain is pretty obvious. I was in sales in large organizations for about 10 years. I've learned that it doesn't hurt that we reconnect and make sure we're always aligned. And we're also waiting for the next favorable weather window. That window is going to be narrow, so we'll have to be able to bounce, seize that opportunity before it disappears. That's agility. And in order to do that, to be ready when the occasion presents itself, we have to focus on the invisible part of our success. I know for a fact, everybody here wants to see a picture of the summit. Did you summit? What did you see? Did you cry? How did you feel? Nobody wants to see a picture of last Tuesday when I went for a run and it was raining and I didn't want to go. That's where those successes are built. So we're doing all of that at Camp 1. The weather window presents itself. Finally, up we go. Same 10 to 12 hours of tough, demanding work. Not any easier the second time. We sit at Camp 1 for a few days, and eventually we'll go touch Camp 2 for the first time. Not much higher, ex ante threshold to acclimatize. So we're going to sit there for about a week. And from Camp 2, we're going to go to Camp 1. Wrong answer again. That is going to be 10 push-ups. From Camp 2, we're going all the way back down to base camp again. Now, the truth is, at this point, we've been on the mountain for 6 weeks. What I have to do right now is to boil down a 2 months expedition in about 60 minutes. The truth is, we've been up and down multiple times. So what happens here? We're starting to feel comfortable. I can breathe easily, I'm moving a lot easily and faster, and here's one of the most dangerous things on big peaks. That is also dangerous when all the KPIs are in the green, because that is never lurking when things are not going well. This is dangerous because when things are not going well, everybody's on high alert, we're extremely compliant, we're doing everything right, we want to get out of trouble. This is lurking when things are going great. So, collectively, to hold each and every one of us accountable against, unintentional complacency is very important. So to focus not just on the to-do and the what, but the how. What kind of presence am I going to be showing up in? And what kind of work do I want to do? Do I want to just check boxes, or do I want to commit to doing remarkable work today? We will get Camp 3 eventually. 7,000 meters, 20,000 feet in altitude. On the summit bid, this is where we go on oxygen. This is not the summit bid yet. So what happens at this point? 6 weeks into the climb. It takes about a week to get to Camp 3 for the first time. We're going to Camp 3 for 1 night only without oxygen. Why? We're going to go make our bodies as uncomfortable as possible so they transform as much as possible. And I do not care how much you love climbing. There is nothing pleasant about that night at Camp 3 without oxygen. And the next morning, we're going to pack everything up again and descend all the way back down to base camp. I think you were promised an inspiring talk before we went. This is deeply depressing. Honestly, this is loaded with great lessons. Before we go to the lessons, I believe this deserves an explanation. Why? Why do we have to go up and down? It's pretty simple, grade 9 biology, actually. When you acclimatize to higher altitude, what happens internally, your body starts producing more red blood cells. Those red blood cells, they carry oxygen, and so with more red blood cells, you'll be a little more efficient in high altitude, or you will not die as quick. And the beauty with those red blood cells, once you've made them, they'll be alive in your blood for about 10 weeks. So acclimatizing to higher altitude is basically raising inadequate levels. Now, the body is not going to guess, I need more red blood cells. You know what I mean? Like, you can't look at the mountain in the distance, and the body is like, oh, no, I know. All right, I'll make more red blood cells just in case the idiot decides to climb the mountain. No. So, and this is a great segue to our key takeaways there in the context of perpetual change. Proactively, not because we have to, proactively, we're going to go do something very uncomfortable so that we're future ready. So that we're going to drive performance today and for the next year. So leaders change first. To adapt is guilt. When we adapt, change has happened. And we're already falling behind a little bit. So this idea of being proactive and changing so that we are always fulfilling our commitment to serve and to fulfill the mission. Now, this always marks the imaginary that we have to go up and down and up and down. This is something we can take home. To accept to change the how so we continue to serve the why. Because when we refuse to change the how because of ego, maybe I'm lazy, I don't know, it's not important. This is when we start failing the why, and that is a tragedy. And again, in the context of leadership, in the context of wanting to build top-performing teams, getting people we work with to also embrace change, this is the job right there. Lead to change and change to lead. Lead to change means I believe in the mission, I want to be in this room, I understand why it's important, and I want to lead. I want to choose leadership. Leadership is a vocation. It's a lot more work, it's a lot more difficult, and I want to do that because